Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Nerd Den here once again, and in today's video I am going to be reading two spoiler-free reviews for Revolution of the Daleks that have been posted by the Radio Times and Den of Geek respectively. So without further ado, let's read these reviews for a spoiler-free look at what Revolution of the Daleks is, and to, you know, kind of get how good the episode is. So yeah, let's get into it. So here we go, from Den of Geek, Doctor Who Revolution of the Daleks preview. In with the old, in with the new, here's a spoiler-free taste of what to expect when Doctor Who returns this New Year's Day. So, here we go. Essentially, this is just like a little bit of a taster of what to expect with Revolution of the Daleks. That's pretty interesting. We know it's going to be airing on New Year's Day, yada yada. So, obviously, it's going to be a bit of a standout production because this was filmed, like, over a year ago now, and it actually finished filming in November, I believe, last year. So very long time ago, and it's going to be airing pretty much, well, like basically 2 years later. So that's a bit mad. So anyway, we have a little recap here from The Timeless Child, essentially doing like a recap of the Doctor's past being changed, etc. And that leads on to the plot of this episode, with the Doctor being incarcerated in a high-security prison, and that Graham, Ryan, and Yaz have returned to Earth in their own TARDIS, which is disguised as a new build house. And yeah, Revolution opens up with a daunting problem. Having established there's some form of Dalek presence on Earth, but with no unit hotline, sonic accessories, or universe-trotting Rose Tyler to help out, what are three normal Doctorless humans meant to do about it? It's not the first time the show's posed this question, but this episode doesn't deal with it in the way you might be expecting, or the ways you might be expecting, sorry. Not that the Doctor's incarceration means the universe is left entirely berthed, of Dalek slaying experts, of course. John Barrowman returns as Captain Jack. This is obviously more than just a brief cameo from Future of the Jadoon. He has a big part in this episode, and yeah, they're obviously taking shot on Miracle Day there, but anyway, we move past that. So apparently Captain Jack, you know, he's a lot more earnest this time, a lot less cheeky. Okay, I mean, that kind of takes away from his character a little bit. Oh wait, we moved a little bit too quicker there, but yeah, so looks like he's a little bit more serious this time around, a little bit more honest. I hope he still does like flirty stuff and everything like that. That's obviously a big part of his character. But he doesn't shy away from discussing his past adventures with the Doctor through these callbacks, obviously meant for the audience, and then rather than the actual companion. So I imagine there's going to be some references to the 9th and 10th Doctors, and maybe he could even reference the 11th Doctor or something, and it keeps budging the paragraph there. But okay, here we go. So yeah, so it's like there's going to be a bunch of Easter eggs with Captain Jack appearing, and in some way his inclusion in the story feels like it's a way to soften the blow of Tosin Cole and Bradley Walsh's departure, as if to remind us that a return for just about anyone is always possible. This is Doctor Who after all. Even with their icy blue redesign, there's no denying that the inclusion of the Daleks in an episode no longer has an impact of years past. Why does it keep budging? Okay, right, we'll hold it there. They're simply too ubiquitous. I'm not good at pronouncing that. For that, especially when it comes to the tantalising the diehard fans who are still wading through the BBC's Time Lord Victorious events. Okay, so I'm guessing they're referring to the whole Dalek problem, where essentially the Daleks have shown up loads over the years, like they're being really overused, and even with the iconic villains, that Revolution of the Daleks doesn't match the height of the bombastic previous Christmas specials. So okay, very interesting, but it isn't like as bad as A Christmas Carol. Okay. But it's not as good as Twice Upon a Time or The Voyage of the Damned. Okay. Or wait. Oh no, they mean the other way around. Oh, either way, that's a comparison there. I honestly didn't read that properly. But what the episode does offer is a safe and solid story, a journey well travelled, ground with Captain Jack along for the ride. It might not be a very special because of all the familiar elements that, yes, I have said this for a long time. It does seem to be like a smaller scale Stolen Earth / Journey's End story, mixed with a little bit of Victory of the Daleks in there as well. But it is a cool little installment, apparently, so there you go. But it's not going to stray too far away from the winning formula. So they haven't really gone into too much detail about this, but let's move on to Radio Times. Now, the Radio Times one I've seen being shared around a lot, so hopefully this article doesn't glitch. But here we go. We'll move past the whole introduction, little catch-up with the whole pandemic and everything. So here we go. Having watched it, the special is filled with all the flying Daleks, grasping tentacles, zappy lasers, and sci-fi nonsense any fan could want. But it's the human connections between the TARDIS team and the connections that have been lost, that emerge as the central theme of the episode, especially with the already announced departures of Bradley Walsh and Tosin Cole. So, pretty interesting. Here we go. We'll just skip past all the quotes and everything like that. So while the story of the revolution of the Daleks is basically, free of like references to the pandemic and any production affected by the pandemic, it is like the most obvious parallel with real life comes from the separation of its lead cast, because obviously the companions are stuck on Earth, and the Doctor has been absent for about 10 months. That's pretty interesting. And Yaz is the one that's affected the most by the Doctor's absence, sleeping in the spare TARDIS as she tries to find a way back to the woman who changed her life. We can't say much more, but suffice to say, fans looking for clues as what Yaz's arc could be in Series 13 won't be disappointed, because she's the only companion staying on. Okay. That's very interesting to learn. I mean, we know it anyway, but the fact that her story arc's going to start for Series 13 in this episode is pretty cool. But also, meanwhile, the Doctor herself is languishing in a cell, and so her daily life is basically in that cell. I guess they're hinting at a montage there, and is implied to be a lot longer than 10 months that have passed. So basically, in the Doctor's time on the prison, it's basically been longer for her compared to the Earth scale of 10 months, I guess. After that, it might be a bit much for her fam to take on a new Dalek threat by themselves. Okay, so yes, the Daleks are back. They've got a new look, and they won't be saying too much about the new Daleks, because apparently that is a big spoiler in itself. So I guess we don't know the full origin to these Daleks yet and how they come about, and obviously the scale the Daleks are in the story. The other review said that they do, and this review here, actually, I've just caught a glimpse there, have stated that the Daleks don't play a big role in this episode. That I'm like, okay, but it is the Dalek story, so I'm guessing they are putting the characters first, because obviously this is a double companion departure as well. So they're talking about Chris Roth and John Barrowman doing, Chris Noth and John Barrowman playing their characters, Jack Robinson and Captain Jack Harkness, really well respectively. And it is really cool to see them doing well, I guess that's what they're trying to say. Really good acting from both, and then what else do they say? They feel like John Barrowman's return is a little bit wasted. Oh, okay, because it feels like it's been presented like it's 2007 and that he just wandered back onto set. Okay, right. So surely a Jack return could have themed a whole episode. And did Robertson really deserve to play second fiddle to the Daleks? Very interesting take there, Radio Times. Obviously, I'm starting to get a little bit like, is this episode really fitting in too much? And I've said that for a very long time, because obviously there's the potential for a Dalek Civil War, companion departures, Captain Jack Robertson. There's a lot of things going on, and it does kind of look like that. And by the end, everything has to take back seat to the companion departures. Okay, so that's obviously happening. Okay, you may get emotional. You may wonder whether there was more story to tell with these characters, but their exit feels pretty definitive by the time the credits roll. Very interesting. They also say here as well that there might be a nod or two to the show's diehard online fans for one of the exits. It'd be very interesting to see how that pans out, but still, the exit seems definitive. Again, we don't know exactly how definitive that could be, but still very interesting indeed. But there seems to be a mix of joy and sadness in the actual episode, and it is like a fairly downbeat episode, like with a downbeat end as well, although there are some great gags, especially from Robertson, and it does set up an interesting new dynamic in the TARDIS that obviously will play a central role in Series 13, with basically an all-female Doctor Who TARDIS team that, well, unless they announce another companion, perhaps. But it's an odd sort of special with some big shifts in pace and tone that may register more with some fans than others, and some slightly undeveloped elements that feel like missed opportunities. But to be honest, after a difficult year for the world, it's nice to see a little piece of Doctor Who to enjoy as the going gets, or rather stays tough. But it's not exactly a Happy New Year for the Doctor, Yaz, or plenty of people on Earth in the episode, or the people of Earth who'll be watching at home. But hope springs eternal. I'm generally quite excited to see how the series is shaken up when it finally returns, and when that does happen, hopefully all the dystopic sci-fi parallels will have been left in the past. But yeah, I will end this video here. If you have enjoyed, leave a like, rate, and subscribe, and I'll see you all on my next video. Goodbye for now.